The sun filtered gently through the tall trees of Central Park, casting golden rays onto the emerald grass. The crisp air carried the distant sounds of laughter, birds chirping, and a street musician strumming a gentle tune on his guitar near the fountain. It was a typical Sunday in New York City, bustling yet tranquil in its own rhythm. Steven, a 26-year-old graphic designer with a quiet soul and an eye for unnoticed beauty, sat on a weathered wooden bench, sketchpad in hand. His fingers danced across the page, capturing the light as it hit the leaves above him. It was his favorite pastime, escaping the blur of his busy life to find peace in lines and shades. Jenny, 24, had just moved to the city 2 months ago. A kindergarten teacher with an infectious smile and a heart made of sunshine, she was still learning her way around. That afternoon she was walking her little golden retriever puppy, Milo, who had decided that the park was his playground and every squirrel was his sworn enemy. As fate would have it, Milo, seeing a squirrel dart across the path, yanked the leash from Jenny's hand and bolted. Jenny called after him in panic, her heart racing. The leash flapped wildly behind the pup as he raced, right toward the very bench where Steven sat, completely unaware. Crash! Steven's sketchpad flew into the air, his pencil skittered off the bench, and Milo landed squarely in his lap, tail wagging like a whirlwind. "I am so sorry," Jenny gasped, breathless, rushing up as Milo barked happily. Steven blinked, taking in the girl with flushed cheeks and twinkling eyes. "It's okay," he chuckled, petting the overenthusiastic dog. "I think your dog has impeccable taste in seating." Jenny laughed, relieved he wasn't angry. He's still a pup. No manners whatsoever. "Well, he's adorable. And very fast," Steven replied, handing her the leash. Their eyes met, and something quiet passed between them. A pause. A softness. "I'm Steven," he said, holding out his hand. "Jenny," she smiled, taking it. "Nice to meet you, Steven. And again, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. You just made my drawing 10 times more exciting." And that was how it began. After that chaotic yet charming introduction, Jenny and Steven found themselves walking side by side beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms that lined the curved paths of the park. Milo trotted ahead proudly, oblivious to the magic he had just sparked. "So," Jenny began, glancing at Steven, "are you an artist professionally or just for fun?" Steven smiled, his hands tucked into his coat pockets. "Professionally a designer. But sketching? That's where my heart is. It helps me slow things down, you know?" Jenny nodded thoughtfully. "I do. I'm a teacher, and between crafts, snack time, and accidental glitter explosions, slow doesn't really exist in my world." Steven laughed. "Glitter explosions?" "Oh, they're real," she said with mock solemnity. "I still find sparkles in my hair days later." They reached a quiet part of the park, where a willow tree leaned lazily over a pond. The branches hung low like curtains, and a weathered stone bench sat beneath it, half sunk into the earth as if it had always belonged there. "Want to sit?" Steven asked. Jenny nodded, and they made themselves comfortable, Milo curling at their feet. The minutes passed like leaves drifting on the breeze. They talked about everything: books, music, their childhoods. Steven told her about growing up in Vermont, surrounded by mountains and silence. Jenny shared how she lived in 5 cities before finding her way to New York, chasing both adventure and stability. With each word, something invisible stitched them closer together. At one point, Steven looked at her and said, "You have this light about you. It's like you carry a little bit of spring with you wherever you go." Jenny blushed. No one's ever said anything like that to me." Well, then they clearly weren't paying attention. They sat in a bubble of warmth until the sun dipped low and the sky turned peachy gold. Jenny checked the time, reluctantly rising. I should get Milo home, and probably scrub the park off of him. Vivin stood, brushing leaves from his jeans. "Can I see you again?" Jenny hesitated for only a second. "Yes, I'd like that." He pulled out his phone. "Maybe next Sunday? Same bench?" "Same bench," she agreed. They exchanged numbers and a shy smile before parting. As Stephen watched her walk away, Milo looking back at him once, he knew something had changed. He'd gone to the park looking for peace. Instead, he'd found a spark. And he couldn't wait to see her again. Sunday arrived like a promise. Stephen got to the park early, sketchpad in hand, but this time he wasn't there to draw trees or shadows. He was sketching her, Jenny, from memory. The way her hair shimmered in the sun, the way her smile tilted when she was amused, the sparkle in her eyes when she talked about her students. He didn't plan to show her, not yet. Some things were too tender to reveal too soon. As the church bells in the distance struck noon, Jenny appeared, wearing a light blue sundress that caught the wind just enough to look like poetry. Milo pranced ahead, eager and excited. "You're early," she said, sitting down beside him on their bench beneath the willow. "Couldn't help it," Stephen admitted. "I was looking forward to this all week." Jenny smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Me too." They fell into a rhythm that felt natural and unforced. Their conversations wove in and out of deep topics, dreams, fears, memories, mixed with playful banter and Milo's occasional barking at geese. At one point, Jenny reached down to pet Milo and glanced at Stephen's sketchpad. "Are you drawing again?" she asked. Stephen paused. "Sort of. Can I see?" He hesitated, then slowly turned the pad toward her. Her breath caught. It was her, sketched in delicate strokes, sitting under the willow tree, sunlight dancing on her face. It wasn't just a drawing. It was a moment, a feeling, a soul. "Oh, Stephen, this is beautiful. I can't believe you drew me." "I wanted to capture what I saw," he said quietly. "Not just how you look, but what you make me feel when you're around." Jenny didn't speak at first. She just looked at him, really looked, as if seeing him for the first time. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say you'll keep coming back here." Jenny smiled, reaching for his hand. "Only if you promise to keep sketching me." Their fingers intertwined, naturally, as though they'd always belonged that way. As the afternoon unfolded, the park around them became background noise. Time stretched and curled around their bench like a gentle fog. People passed, seasons shifted, but for Stephen and Jenny, that one day under the willow tree felt infinite. When it was time to part again, they lingered. Stephen brushed a kiss on her cheek. A question, not an answer. Jenny looked at him, eyes glowing. "Next Sunday?" "Next Sunday," he promised. And as she walked away, Stephen realized something startling. He was falling. Not slowly, not cautiously, but deeply, all at once. The third Sunday came cloaked in gray clouds and a whisper of rain, but Stephen still showed up with an umbrella in one hand and a bouquet of wildflowers in the other. He stood by the willow tree, the sketchpad safely tucked in his backpack, eyes scanning the winding paths of the park. The air was cooler, the usual Sunday bustle replaced by soft footsteps and the pitter-patter of raindrops on leaves. Then he saw her. Jenny arrived wrapped in a pale yellow raincoat, her curls dampened by the mist, Milo trotting at her side with a tiny rain jacket of his own. Stephen couldn't help but laugh. Fashionable as always, he teased as she approached. Milo insists on making a statement, she replied, shaking her umbrella playfully. Stephen handed her the bouquet, slightly rain-speckled but vibrant. I wasn't sure if you liked flowers, but these reminded me of you, wild, bright, a little untamed. Jenny smiled, touched. They're perfect. You're kind of incredible, you know that. They found refuge beneath the willow, the rain weaving a quiet melody around them. As droplets trickled from the leaves above, Stephen and Jenny shared the warmth of a blanket he had brought. Sitting close enough for their shoulders to touch, hearts quietly thudding beneath the silence. The rain seemed to soften the world, making everything feel slower, closer. Jenny turned to him, her voice softer than the drizzle. Can I tell you something? Of course. I was scared to move here, she admitted. I had no family, no one waiting for me. I told myself I'd make it on my own, but some days, it felt too big. Too loud. Too lonely. Stephen looked at her, his heart swelling. And now? She gave him a shy glance. Now it feels smaller. Warmer. Because of you. Stephen gently reached up, brushing a raindrop from her cheek. Jenny, I don't want to sound dramatic, but you've been all I think about. Every day since that first time Milo tackled me. Jenny laughed softly, her eyes glistening, not just with rain. Stephen, she whispered, leaning closer, can I kiss you? He didn't answer with words. Their lips met beneath the draping willow branches, as if the world itself leaned in to witness their quiet magic. It wasn't rushed or fiery. It was soft, full of promise, the kind of kiss that felt like the beginning of everything. When they finally pulled apart, forehead to forehead, Stephen whispered, I've waited a long time to find someone like you. Jenny closed her eyes, breathing him in. Then don't let me go. They sat like that for hours, wrapped in blankets and kisses, sharing stories and secrets as the rain painted poetry around them. And though the city beyond the park rushed on in its ceaseless rhythm, Stephen and Jenny were in no hurry. Their hearts had found a place to rest. Together. In the days that followed their rain-soaked kiss, something shifted between them, not in a dramatic way, but like a door quietly opening to reveal a path they didn't know they'd already started walking. Stephen asked Jenny out on an official date. I mean, he'd said over text, unless our meet cute under a flying puppy counts. Jenny replied within seconds. It absolutely counts. But I'll still say yes to dinner. They met on Friday evening outside a cozy little restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. Stephen wore a navy button-down that brought out the gray in his eyes. Jenny wore a deep green dress, simple yet stunning, and her smile could have lit the whole street. Inside, the restaurant glowed with candlelight and the hum of soft jazz. Over pasta and wine, they talked like they'd known each other for years. No awkward pauses, no nerves, just comfort and curiosity wrapped in laughter. He even learned that Jenny couldn't cook to save her life, but she made the best scrambled eggs on earth. Jenny found out Stephen hated olives, but secretly liked pineapple on pizza, a scandal they agreed to keep between them. After dinner, they strolled through the quiet streets, fingers brushing, then intertwining. I don't want tonight to end, Jenny said as they reached the park's edge. Then let's not let it, Stephen replied, pulling her gently toward the gate. The park at night was a different kind of magic. Lanterns glowed like sleepy stars, and fireflies blinked in the grass. They made their way back to their bench beneath the willow, now moonlit and hushed. Jenny leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "This feels like a dream I didn't know I had." Stephen kissed her hair. "And you feel like home I didn't know I was looking for." They sat in peaceful silence for a while, the night folding around them like a soft blanket. Milo snored at their feet, chasing squirrels in his sleep. Then Jenny spoke quietly. "I used to think love would be big, loud, dramatic, but this, you and me, here, it feels different. It feels real." Stephen turned to her. "That's because it is real." They kissed again, slower this time. Not like a beginning, but like a deepening. A confirmation. By the time they said goodnight, the world felt somehow changed. Not because of fireworks or declarations, but because their hearts had spoken in the stillness. And both had answered, yes. Seasons came and went, painting the city in shifting hues. Summer faded into a crisp autumn, and then snowflakes danced in the streets, only to melt again as spring returned, gentle and green. But through it all, rain or shine, warm or cold, Stephen and Jenny kept coming back to the park, to their bench beneath the willow tree. It had become their place. Every chapter of their love unfolded there. Laughter on lazy Sundays, quiet tears during hard days, sweet nothings whispered as the sun dipped low. Stephen would bring his sketchpad. Jenny would bring coffee and muffins. Milo would bring chaos. And love, steady, kind, unshakable, would bloom again and again. On their 1-year anniversary, Stephen woke up early. The city was just beginning to stir, the sky painted in soft pinks and blues. Jenny was still asleep, tangled in the bedsheets, a soft smile on her face. He kissed her forehead, whispering, "Today." He had everything planned. A walk, a picnic, a little surprise. Under the willow, everything looked just as it had a year ago. The same golden light, the same gentle breeze. The only difference was the small velvet box in Stephen's coat pocket, nestled next to a drawing he'd spent weeks perfecting. One of Jenny, holding a bouquet, standing beneath the willow with a look of forever in her eyes. Jenny arrived, Milo happily charging ahead as always. She wore that familiar smile, the one that had undone him from the very beginning. Stephen took her hand and led her to the bench. "I've been thinking," he began softly, "about how this all started. About a flying puppy and a runaway leash. About how you turned my world from grayscale to technicolor." Jenny laughed, eyes misting already. He reached into his coat and pulled out the sketch first. "Oh, Stephen," she whispered, tracing the lines. "It's beautiful." He dropped to one knee. And time stood still. "I used to come here to escape," he said, voice full of quiet emotion. "But then you came, and suddenly I wasn't hiding from the world. I was living in it with you. You're my muse, my calm, my chaos, my home." He opened the box. The rings sparkled like the sky above them. "Jenny Grace Carter, will you marry me?" Jenny's hands flew to her mouth, then down to his shoulders. Her eyes were shimmering, her smile wide as the ocean. "Yes," she breathed. 1,000 times yes. They kissed beneath the willow, just as they had that rainy Sunday, but now with the future wrapped around them like sunlight. Milo barked in celebration, tail wagging like a victory flag. 1 year later, family and friends gathered under that same tree, their tree, draped in white ribbons and fairy lights. The sun filtered through the leaves just like it had that first day. Milo trotted down the aisle with a tiny bounty around his neck, and Jenny followed, radiant in a simple lace gown, a bouquet of wildflowers in hand. Stephen stood waiting, heartful, eyes fixed only on her. They exchanged vows filled with laughter, promises, and quiet tears. "I found you in a park," Stephen said. "But I found myself in your love." "I wasn't looking for you," Jenny replied. "But I thank the stars every day that you found me." As they kissed, the crowd erupted in cheers. The wind rustled the branches of the willow, as if nature itself was blessing their union. And so it was that beneath the same tree where a boy with a sketchpad and a girl with a runaway puppy had first met, they promised forever. A love story written not just in pages and memories, but in sunlight, laughter, and 100 quiet Sundays. And they lived, truly and beautifully, happily ever after.